Family, it's Hanu. You're tuned to the State of the City, here live on Soul Classics 1590 WFBR. I'm your host, Brother Muhammad. Let me thank all of you, and I do mean all of you, that the sound of my voice is coming to, and perhaps coming through at the top of the hour, the top of the show, and the top of the flow, for having us locked in and clocked in on those raggedy radios. Please do yourselves a favor, turn them up nice and loud, and I do mean nice and loud, to get you a big fat Saturday, late morning, early afternoon crowd on this Saturday, March the 8th, 2014, and then go one step further. Call your family, call your friends, call your kit and kin, call those that have your complexion, those that have your divine connection, and those that are working to bring about some universal corrections in this city, and this state, and this country, and on the planet. And of course, you know you got to call the co-workers, the slow workers, and even more those that's guaranteed to become no workers right about now, as they slow it down and listen to the State of the City. Let them know that the State of the City is on the air. We got a lot that we're going to share with you. Got a special guest that's going to be joining me on the line in just a few. And in the words of Ray Charles, we're going to make it do what it do before we're through. Guaranteed to be up out of here right around 2. So let me start the show off as I always do, each and every day and in each and every way, by first and foremost reminding you that we're now streaming live on the World Wide Web. So you can join us at www.1590wfbr.com. And for those of you that would like to join us on our social network media page, you can do so kindly by going to our Twitter page, which is the #1 State of the City, or you can send me the Facebook request to be my Facebook guest for the next hour or two until we're through, or at infinitum. And that Facebook page is simply Darren, D-A-R-E-N, State of the City. Last name is Muhammad, M-U-H-A-M-M-A-D. Spell it right, get it right, and you'll have us locked in your site, and you can get in where you fit in, and fit in when you get in on the conversation. For those that would like to join us on TuneIn Radio, you can go to TuneIn, zoom in to WFBR 1590, and you'll be soon in listening to our show and our flow. And for those that would like to just cut right through the gap and join us on our Spreaker app, you can go to www.Spreaker, Spreaker.com, and you can join us on the Spreaker app, as we're using modern technology in order to give you the information and the inspiration. Of course, you know we start the show off every day and every way with a dedication. So let me start the show off by dedicating the show to my brother and friend, Brother Eric Easton, and to the Honorable Mayor Chokwe Lumumba, who is being funeralized, having his homegoing services today there in Jackson, Mississippi, and to a little-known brother in history, in American history, and in African-American history, and in black history, but there are many that are gathering as we speak in Alabama. Some began as early as this past Thursday, and they've continued on Friday and today and tomorrow. I speak now of Brother Jimmy Lee Jackson, whose death 49 years ago led to the Bloody Sunday March across the Pettus Memorial Bridge in Selma, Alabama, to Mississippi, to Selma, Alabama, and of course it gave hope to many through the Voting Rights Act of 1965. So that is a little known fact that many sometimes overlook, and so we have to protect our history, respect our history, and never ever neglect our history. Let me also take this opportunity, as we're talking about history, of course, to stop on this day and commemorate and educate on Commandante Hugo Chavez, who passed 1 year ago this past Tuesday, which was the 5th of March. And so may we never ever forget, again, Commandante Hugo Chavez and his works, and of course his labor of love for the people of Venezuela, and for the sea of humanity that wants to have control and a say over their destination. And he clearly was an example to many and plenty in terms of service to their people, and service to humanity, in terms of looking back at the legacy of Comandante Hugo Chavez and our brothers and sisters of the Afro-Venezuelans. And that work, of course, continues under Comandante Maduro there in Venezuela as well. Let me take this opportunity as we dedicate the show, before we get into the show, to Marshal Eddie Conaway, who was released after 49 years in prison, one of our political prisoners who has been released due to the Unger law. I believe it was the law that was used to free Marshal Eddie Conaway and others as well. So we say welcome home, and we thank the likes of a Dr. Gotzi Harold Hudson and Sister Nzinga over on the airways of Morgan State University, who would often talk about prisoners come home, and we have to find a way to integrate many of those political prisoners and those men and women and children who come back home from being locked down and locked up, and give them a voice in the society and allow them, since America believes in underdogs and the world believes in underdogs, given an opportunity to have a second chance, a third chance, and many other chances as well. Let me take this opportunity to give a shout out, as I see we got some young brothers and young sisters, particularly the adults and some of the children that are touring the studio today for the Boy Scouts. And so we thank them in terms of giving young people an opportunity to see how radio works behind the scenes and see how radio production works as well, because they are the future. And so how do you and I make our way from the past to the present to the future? It's by touching the young people. And so again, you tune to the State of the City. This show will be also part of our monthly pledge drive. And so I got a sister that's joining me in studio that we're going to have that's going to be taking your calls when we open up the lines, Sister Lisa Samuel. So just say peace to the family and greetings to the family, sister. Get on that mic right quick before we go deep into the conversation.
Hello, family. Please call.
All right. And so this is short on words, but long and strong on action. So again, we'll be opening up the lines shortly to take your thoughts, questions, comments, but more importantly, to take your pledge, as we, of course, have moved the State of the City back to the weekly programming. We're on Mondays, we're on Thursdays, and we're now, of course, have been coming for so long and so strong on Saturdays here on these airways. But this is listener-supported radio. We don't get money from the United States government. We don't get money from the NGOs, the non-government organizations or non-godly organizations. We're not funded by George Soros and the Open Society Institute. We're not funded by, of course, Zbigniew Brzezinski. We're not funded by, of course, those who would want to bring you the New World Order or the New World Order. And so our funding, of course, comes from the hearts, and it comes from your pockets, and it comes from, of course, you're putting your money where your heart is and supporting strong black radio and strong progressive white radio and strong relevant radio today. And so we'll open up the lines at the bottom of the hour to talk about that and much more. So again, you tune to the State of the City. We're going to go to this quick musical break, and I'm going to be joined in the first segment on the show by my brother, who is the chairman of the POCC, as we talk about prisoners. He is in Selma, Alabama, and of course, as I said before, the living legend, Baba Dick Gregory. Let me thank him, who joined me here on these airways live in person and in living color last Saturday. We will have copies of that show available for those, of course, that make their pledges to support the State of the City. We'll make copies of that CD available to you as well. And the living legend, Baba Dick Gregory, is in Alabama also, as we're speaking, talking about the commemorative week that's going on around the 49th year anniversary of the death of Jimmy Lee Jackson, and which led to and culminated in Bloody Sunday, which was the march across the Pettus Memorial Bridge by Dr. King and many others of the civil rights movement, black, brown, red, yellow, and white, who changed the course of this country in just 12 years, from 1956 to 1968, or some would say 1955, following the death of Emmett Till, following the standing or sitting down, which was standing up, of Mama Rosa Parks. But it gave, of course, a shot in the dark, and to those who are children of the light, to change the course of this country for all, to make it better for all, black, brown, red, yellow, and white. And it's going to take those types of heroes and sheroes in order to change the course of this country and the course of the planet once again. So we salute all of those that are gathering in Mississippi, those that are gathering in Alabama, and we're going to have one who is there that's going to be joining us shortly. So let me go to this quick musical break, and we'll come back in and be joined by the son of the Revolutionary Chairman, Chairman Fred Hampton Sr., one of the founding members of the Chicago chapter of the Black Panther Party for Self-Determination. We're going to be joined by Chairman Fred Hampton Sr. So listen to this message as we are back together again, and we'll be back with more of the State of the City. So again, don't touch the dial except to turn up the volume. You're listening to the State of the City, and we'll be back with more in just a minute. We'll get back in. Welcome back. You listen to the State of the City. That's right. We're back together again. And speaking of back together again, let me go to the lines and bring up my brother. As I said before, really needs no introduction. For those of you that listen to the State of the City, he is, of course, the son of our revolutionary chairman, who we lost on December the 4th, 1969, the founding, of course, member of the Panther Party chapter in Chicago. And we lost our twin towers on that day, and Chairman Fred Hampton Sr. and Minister of Defense Mark Clark. And so we welcome back to the State of the City, live from, again, Alabama, my brother and friend, representing the POCC, the Panther Cub, Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. Revolutionary love to you, comrade.
Revolutionary love, right back at you, my brother. Yes, indeed, comrade. It's good to hear you play. Good to be back online with you.
Yes, sir. Honor's always mine, man. Let's give your contact information right quick. I know you're down there on the front lines, ground zero with our people in Alabama, where it all began in terms of the civil rights movement, the human rights movement. So let's give your contact information before we share with the family what we wanted to talk about today.
Yes, indeed. A blog spot is www.chairmanfredjr.blogspot.com. Again, www.chairmanfredjr.blogspot.com. My email address is chairmanfredjr@gmail.com. chairmanfredjr@gmail.com.
Yes.
Yes, sir. They presently have me banned on Facebook, so I know since given on Facebook, I can reach via Who We Be POCC on Facebook. Who we be POCC on Facebook.
Yes, sir. Well, let's go ahead and talk about quickly, man. You're there in Alabama, but before we get into that, man, let's talk about also taking place right next door in Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, the funeral, the homegoing services of one of our revolutionary mayors, of Mayor Chokwe and Attorney Chokwe Lumumba.
Yes, indeed. Well, definitely. I just said in my presentation a minute ago, on behalf of POCC, Black Panther Party Cubs, we want to definitely extend our condolences. Well, I was going to say revolutionary condolences to the former mayor of Jackson, Mississippi, Chokwe Lumumba, who I know you got a long resume, long resume of resistance. And excuse me 1 second. So that was our condolences, and on behalf of not only to his family, to his community, to the people in general.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And of course, brother, as we talked about, we lost one revolutionary this week. We had the release of another revolutionary here in Baltimore City, of course, our comrade and Eddie Marshall Conaway, or Marshall Eddie Conaway. Thoughts and comments on his release and what it represents to many of the other political prisoners in America and globally.
Yes, yes indeed. Well, definitely we want to say welcome Black to the community. To one of the longest held political prisoners in this country, Marshall Eddie Conaway. I was kind of thinking of distracted for 1 second, but let me just say this also in regards to Chokwe Lumumba.
Yes, sir.
A lot of people might call me because it definitely, we say with any case with our people, always, say warrants investigation. We just can't afford luxuries. This man just died. This is simple as that. So even with the case, in case of that, so definitely, people should apply people's investigation. Go make sure everything is, because the counterinsurgency is a discussion that must be held in every aspect of our life, and our death.
Yes.
And a lot of people say, well, this don't have to do with the government or the political. We say everything is political. So we can't. So we talk about the passing or the death of any one of our people in general, let alone representative of our people. When we talk about, in the case of Marshall Eddie Conaway, political prisoners, the question of the ongoing COINTELPRO, the ongoing counterinsurgency must be and always be tied into the discussion. It cannot be negated with, with that. We cannot afford the luxury to say, okay, this is just a death, or this is just somebody's going to jail. Right. But the whole question of ongoing counterinsurgency always must be tied into those questions. So I just want to say that.
Yes, sir.
Because there are no foregone conclusions. I just want to make sure I put that in that. Right. In regards to Marshall Eddie Conaway, 44 years held down in those brutal concentration camps, and it's a discussion that we need to have. We need to seize the time to have.
That's right.
To everything from the uses of agent provocateurs that was placed inside the movement, again, the ongoing counterinsurgency. You got to, we must seize the time to have this discussion. We must take the position that Frantz Fanon articulated. We will accept the concessions, but never compromise our principles. Right. Our principles still remain free of all. So again, place Christians and Brother Marshall Eddie Conaway, and let's see the time to have this whole discussion about the whole political prisoner question. What happened to our movements? Because you have a generation of people who try to dismiss this as the movement just died away or passed away. Nothing can be further from the truth. There was a brutal attack that was waged on our, on our movement, our leadership, and our people in general. And and our people, let's have this, about the whole thing, about the role of Warren Hart, the other agent provocateurs that came up, the people who took liberal positions. About acknowledging these contradictions. And where we stand today, about this, again, this ongoing counterinsurgency.
That's right. Yes, sir. Again, family, just tuning in, having a conversation with Chairman Fred Hampton, Jr. of the POCC. And, of course, we can never forget, as you talked about, brother, that our revolutionaries were killed, many were in prison. And so it's no different than what we just saw with the great attorney who represented many in the Republic of New Africa, which called for, again, blacks separating or seceding, just as America is abroad right now with their imperialism, talking about Israel and Palestine, or whether we're talking about Crimea, or what's happening in Russia or in Ukraine, or we're talking about what's happening in Spain, where America is fomenting the divide and conquer tactics. Can you speak to that?
No doubt. Again, as stated, we cannot afford the luxury just to dismiss or to use such terms as if someone died. So we must always, continuously, consistently tie in the political impact that such force is a choke with I wasn't referring to Mr. Attorney, but mayor, a choke in the moon, but valid to our people. And because if not, if we attempt to, if we don't cross our T's and dot our I's, and we just try to, attempt to be revisionists of history, or to use euphemisms, or to negate something that has impacted African people ever since African people since we were kidnapped. That if you change, it's similar to changing the foundation of a building, that changed the whole dynamic of this whole system. So again, every discussion that we have, every discussion, from unemployment to child care to to the quote unquote death or the quote unquote dying of representatives of our community. The whole question of counterinsurgency has always have be tied into it. And it's not a lot of people try to dismiss it as some sort of, here we go with this conspiracy theory. But it's a reality. The African people have been faced with a brutal reality that, again, everything from food to health to dying to life to birth and lack of, this is something that's got to be tied into it. The whole, what political ideology different representatives have, how has this government, how has this system dealt with people with opposing political positions?
Yes, sir, clearly. Well, speaking of opposing positions, brother, you're there in Alabama today, and it is the 49th year anniversary that many are stopping to as we talk about educate and commemorate, as well as celebrate, of course, the life of Brother Jimmy Lee Jackson and all of those, again, that laid down their lives and gave their blood, their sweat, their tears to move our struggle forward there in Selma, Alabama. Can you speak to that?
Well, from the blatant cases of state troopers, vamping down, gunning down cases of Jimmy Lee Jackson, the cases of down in Alabama, the listeners in the church who bombed, they was referred to as Birmingham, Alabama.
That's right.
To the cases of North in Chicago. I think I'm paraphrasing Malcolm X, El Hajj El Shabazz when he said, you talk about the South and the North, but anything south of the Canadian border, it is the South.
That's right.
And the deal is, a lot of times we get caught up with these geographical differences. There are some, South and North, so on and so forth. However, whether it be the Yankees or the Confederates, the Democrats or Republicans, the attacks that have been launched on African people, they may use euphemisms, or watered down terms. But the deal is, our people have been under attack and continue to be under attack, and in such a vicious way from coast to coast, in fact, outside coast to coast. Because the deal is, we have to recognize this is an international struggle. You know what I'm saying? And even though it may have more blatant representation down here in places like Jackson, Mississippi, or down in Alabama, you know what I'm saying? They may use more watered down terms, euphemisms up north. The attack has been on, and the attack remains to be on African people, in particular.
That's right, clearly. Well, speaking of attack on African people, we saw this time last year the death of one of our comrades and revolutionary, visionary leaders in terms of, again, continuing the work of Simon Bolivar. And I speak now, of course, of Comandante Hugo Chavez, who many said was poisoned in terms of his death there in Venezuela. And now we see 1 year later, America is right back there in Venezuela, seeking to destabilize Venezuela and pull off a coup in Venezuela. And speak to that if you could.
We say with resistance, it is important that we recognize that it's important to have a protracted resistance. In other words, that long-range resistance. Because the deal is, this system, imperialism, this parasitical politics, it thinks long range. It'll set things in place that the colonized mind could not even fathom. The things that this system has done and it will continue to do. I mean, everything from the quote unquote coincidences of cancer, even in particular South American leaders throughout the country, the timing of it. We have to start to be very clear, even if we can't sum it up. Right. But the time, what type of policies U.S. imperialism is fighting for at that particular time, and all of a sudden strange coincidences happen. And look down the road. So this, we talking about a system that would take got a former Secretary of Commerce, Ron Brown, on the plane, and regardless of how many passengers on the plane with him. We're talking about a system that thinks long range, that to think about in Haiti, to take out a president leadership and Haiti, and set conditions where they can raise up some modern day piper or entertainer to be the spokesperson. So we again, and I want to re-stress the colonized mind. We can't even fathom the points or what the system is just saying. Why are they doing certain moves? But again, we see everything is political, and we look at all of a sudden whose interest, pops up in Venezuela and other, other parts of the world, and we must remain forever cognizant of the fact that this system does not limit its attacks just to military bullets and army tanks. They understand politics. That old saying, war is politics with bloodshed, politics is war without bloodshed. So we must be mindful for a heads up for various forms of chemical, biological warfare, whether it comes to forms of Ebola, AIDS, or prostate cancer. We must be ever mindful of, the exploiting opportunism and egos, and grabbing the more palatable representative to be in place. The control of not only in this country but abroad, it's elections, what they refer to as elections, but it's elections. And again, look at long range. Who does this government fund? How does the system? How does it benefit? Listen to the terms that they utilize. Even right now, you see what's in Ukraine, white folks. A lot of people missing the words when it's President John Kerry, the President of the United States, Secretary of State, that's saying that they're going to make this great move to Ukraine and they're going to provide these loans. And similar to within our community, a lot of people don't hear that word, these loans. Yes. And a lot of times people think the government come there and help you. But this system was one of America's policies is to create chaos and restore order. Mm-hmm. Again, create chaos and restore order. To create a situation and attempt to put forth a facade of the embassy going through the democratic process in Venezuela. When that doesn't happen, similar to that in our leadership in our communities, when they try to pay out certain individuals, that doesn't happen. They try to slander your name. They go through stages of the game, make you a political prisoner. If that doesn't happen, we see them resort to the last stage of sending to we refer to as a revolutionary happy hunting ground. Or even if you're not a revolutionary, I want to say this: if many people do not be under the impression that an individual must be a revolutionary or even a resistant. But to get taken out by this system. They was kidnapping African people, the slave trade. They just weren't going for the warriors, those that was getting down. So it's a system that bleeds and it survives and thrives of the blood, sweat, tears, and years of political prisoners, of those general community, those being educated in colonial schools, those in the welfare labs, and our people, African people in particular, but oppressed people all abroad. So again, it's a parasitical system that needs this. It needs the blood, sweat, and tears out for the people.
That's right, clearly. Again, family, just tuning in, having a conversation with Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. Before we let you wrap up, brothers, we're talking about, again, targeting, as we talk about. You're there in Chicago, which many say is ground zero, as we've seen the President of the United States, who is the latest puppet of the imperialist powers, in terms of President Barack Obama. As you often said, the coldest drug dropped on the black community since crack cocaine, and probably the coldest drug dropped on progressive whites since, I guess, the evil Beatles, as they called them in the late 60s, right? In terms of the Beatles. Yes, sir. So let's talk about how they're trying to bring Rahm Emanuel forward and start putting them on tour, like on the Jimmy Fallon show, etc., and how they have a brother such as yourself there in Chicago that they now want to put in the crosshairs. Talk about that if you could, brother.
Again, everything is political. On my way to this event, I'm down. I'm in the South for a number of different events. We definitely acknowledging the memorial for Jimmy Jackson, as well as this was a historic Hall of Resistance Museum in Selma, Alabama, where I'm on a panel along with Dr. Francis Cress Wilson and others, receiving the award in the Hall of Resistance right now. But on the way here, the sister who was driving me here, she was asking about Chicago, and she was saying, what is Rahm Emanuel doing, and so on and so forth. And I basically laid the whole thing about the international gangster moves that he was laying down. That was happening in Chicago. everything ranging from when he first came in, the massive closing of medical health centers within the targeted within the black community, the continuous rampant amounts of police terrorism that occurred, the historical closing of 50 Chicago public schools at one time. The historical movie deal with that. And so the sister, she was like, well, man, how did this happen? You know, what's going on? How did the community go for this? I said, well, you know, the deal is that the top spokesman, the top salesman for U.S. imperialism, U.S. President Barack Obama, sold him to the community. That's right. And I say, listen, it's a tough fight to expose these contradictions. You know what I'm saying? Again, when we state that Barack Obama was the coldest drug Americans dropped on blacks instead of crack. And prior to Rahm Emanuel, you had Detective Mayor Daley, who had more of a Machiavellian tactic, you know what I'm saying, of going down in the community. Who was the heir apparent to the infamous Daley machine, being that his father was Richard Daley Sr. under his tenure, Chairman Fred Sr., Defendant Lamar Clark, were assassinated December 4th of 1969. And similar to that of the contrast between former U.S. President Bill Clinton and George Bush, where Bill Clinton had a more of a Machiavellian tactic, when George Bush would come with the hardcore, pull the gloves off. Similar to that of John F. Kennedy, who many of our grandmothers were, you know, still in the churches, you know, saying, wait for the fans with Dr. King and John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy on their fans, and Tomas Kennedy was the great white, you know, like the great white hope. And the best thing is considered like the second coming of Jesus, but this is the same John F. Kennedy that implemented the Green Beret, the same John F. Kennedy going this tenure to Bay of Peace in Cuba, the number of assassination attempts on Fidel Castro, the same John F. Kennedy who implemented all these changes throughout the south side of Chicago and Detroit, Michigan. However, in contrast to that of Richard Milhouse Nixon, the more blatant attacks, you know what I'm saying? And so that contrast is similar to that of Daley, as opposed to that of President Mayor of Chicago, Rahm Israel Emanuel, who has a history, I mean, who's the son of a international player who had dual membership in Israel as well as the United States. And Rahm Emanuel took the gloves off. He came through the door, not even playing the tactics, you know, grabbing Negro preachers, propping them up. Came through the door again, shutting a massive closing of mental health centers, massive closing of Chicago public schools, massive closing of the red line, the transportation with the black community in particular, shutting them down, no covers on it. And so historically, not just the state directly itself, but such entities as the Chicago Civic Commission, also the University of Chicago, who has a history of funding and studying. And when I say studying, people need to understand that. A lot of times people get this word studying our people is like a euphemism that the system uses for attacking our people. The Tuskegee experiments, speaking of the South, matter of fact, the Tuskegee experiments, when they say they were studying black people, what detriment syphilis would do to us. But studying was really a euphemism to say they were implementing chemical biological warfare on African men and women. And so the deal is, when you hear that term in regards to our community, we need to be extra cautious. And the University of Chicago, who has a notorious history with black people in particular, but this university, just to premise my opposition, the University of Chicago, they created the nucleus for the atom bomb. The University of Chicago, they created the Elliott Nest. Later on, when they refer to the federal government's untouchables. The University of Chicago, that even responsible for the cabinet of Pinochet and Chile, where they refer to as the Chicago boys that trained them, and also that created so many individuals that were raised up to be our so-called white male spokesperson. And people need to be very clear on that term, because there's a concerted effort for our people not to know of African people that spoke for self-determination. It's a concerted effort for that. And this goes in regards to every aspect of our struggle in our lives. In fact, I was just telling the boss yesterday, make sure we get the word to the black community about even the release of Marshall Eddie Conway. That's right. People say, why is that, Cham? I say it's important. That's right. Because a lot of times, who you receive information from. That's when you receive information. Right. It impacts you. It is so important. And people say, well, Cham, it doesn't. One brother told me it doesn't make a difference where you get it from. I say that position is similar to saying it does not different between a baby gorilla breastfeeding from its mother or receiving the first milk from the white hands to the white hands. Because the man, at a certain age, the man can take in. Well, this is my first time of receiving information.
Yes.
I can't tell you how many so-called quote-unquote conscious artists who I've met who told me they first heard on Chairman Fred. In fact, Chairman Fred Hampton through Howard Zinn or other people. It is so, again, and this is not a racist position, it's a realist position. It is so important that you have an example of someone that your information vehicle, so on and so forth, that you can identify with.
That's right.
And you identify, and again, it represents self-determination.
Yes. Right.
You spoke about this discussion about me being placed in the crosshairs. We know, let me premise this also, we know we get involved in struggle. We know as African people, period.
That's right.
That, we live a high-risk, what they call a high-risk life every day. I mean, say, well, are you high-risk stuff that you're doing, certain sexual activities, so on and so forth. But just the fact of us being African is high risk.
Yes,
again, that's when we, a lot of people say, it's a comedian made a joke. He say, the white guy asked the brother, says, you go do bungee jumping, and brother said, I ain't got to play no bungee jumping. Every day I come out, I'm taking a chance on my life.
That's right.
And that's the reality in our community. So on the premise with that, we know we under attack just in general. And we know that the risk, the threat level is increased when we start to speak out or take a stand, start to organize. So we do understand that.
Yes, sir.
So there's been a number of tips on my life before.
Come on, bro.
And you know what I'm saying? We've been continuously attacked by the business counter insurgents. You name it, from being locked up, trumped up charges, to straight out assassination attempts.
That's right.
And one of the most blatant examples of the continuing counterinsurgency has been expressed to even people from the streets who brought to our attention. I'm talking about cats on the streets. That facilitators at the University of Chicago, again, facilitators at the University of Chicago, they said it was literally brought to them a price, basically it's a contract to do what they call the Fred Hampton Jr. problem. To pay these cats off. You know what I'm saying? And even when the brothers and sisters that brought this to our attention on the streets, even though they didn't understand the political significance of that, because they like, man, it's like these people trying to pay people to deal with to deal with you. And it's certain facilitators like the facilitator of race and politics, Tracy Matthews. Her name that came up, and some other people's names that came up. We still get more and more information. There's, this is one of the most blatant, even the most apolitical individuals, and people who really don't know terms like counterinsurgency and so on and so forth. They were able to say, wait a minute, we remember back in the 60s how the Woodlawn experiment was set in place, how the, the University of Chicago and other entities tried to set up for different street organizations to attack to get rid of Chairman Fred and Black Panther Party. And when that was unsuccessful, the state was forced to take their gloves off and to come directly December the 4th, 1969. So one thing we have is that the consciousness of the people is heightened. To be on the heads up to say this cannot be dismissed as some sort of, just random act of violence. Because we know how the state gets down. We've seen in the case of Larry Davis, one of the most historic resistors in New York, who flipped the script, who at one time as a juvenile was on the payroll, was hustling, for the real drug dealers. That's in the New York Police Department. And when he flipped the script and went against them, when he went through that cleansing process, he went through. When he got out on that same New York Police Department, when they came at him, and he resisted, when he fought back, and they get a bathroom and they supported the community, when even the New York Police Department, the then President Mayor of New York, Ed Koch, had underestimated. They underestimated the support of the community, how long this brother stayed on the run, how long he stayed on the lam. When he finally came out, the plan was for them to take him out, assassinate Larry Davis. But the community was they had his back. Then he was locked up, he was in prison. And suddenly, in fact, I had talked to him on his birthday, years after he was locked up. And suddenly, while he was locked up, a quote-unquote mysterious stabbing happened. He was stabbed to death on a prison yard. And these are the type of tactics that the state, we see this internationally, we see this as well as domestically. Where they would say, okay, to keep their hands clean, to minimize it, to make it like, well, this is a game fight, or to do this down from quote-unquote natural causes. And, but again, we have to heighten the level of conscience of the people, as I said earlier, in the case of our people in general. In the case of anybody, in particular Jackson, Mississippi, quote-unquote, dying.
That's right.
Let's go the form the former mayor of Jackson, Mississippi.
Right.
In the case of any situation where people dismiss a simple beef or rival or situation, man, we must heighten the level of conscience of the people of the community.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Say, wait a minute. This is just saying. Let's look at the history of who we dealing with. How did they get in power? How are we placed in position? You know what I'm saying? Again, everything is political. So we do not take this lightly. You know, so we put this information out.
That's right.
It's point blank. The facilitators of the University of Chicago had approached individuals on the street and try to put a contract out on them. And the deal is, again, we know that they have access to a large amount of resources.
Right.
We know that it's tough times with them for our community. But we know also, in the same breath, we know also that the will of the people is greater than the man's technology.
That's right.
We know that regardless of how many guns or badges and how much finance they got, we're going to heighten the level of the conscience of the community, the people, to draw the line of demarcation with the state and with the people. And that any attack on our movements, our people, you know what I'm saying, the lines are being drawn. And we say that all police don't wear uniforms.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And we're going to pin the tail on the pig.
That's
You know what I'm saying? Because this is a tactic that's tended to be employed when I was locked up in a place called Big Muddy River.
Right.
We call it Big Bloody River.
Yes,
We
sir.
literally brought in the leadership of one of the street organizations and told them to go against it.
Right.
Once we exposed his history,
Right.
his own membership said, wait a minute, this guy been working for the state all the time. And that's what we got to do. And that's what so you can't be dismissing some East Coast, West Coast thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We have to be very clear.
Yes, sir.
The government assassinated Tupac Shakur. You know, ain't no we ain't making no bones about it. We up front.
That's right.
And a lot of times, even the people themselves, even the victims themselves, are not able to some of this continuing counter searches. Anytime when you have a situation where in Chicago, we got Willie Lord with those former leadership of the vice lords. The government said themselves. He was under federal government surveillance.
That's right.
And I told my position was, anytime they tell you that he or anyone in the hip-hop artist that you're under surveillance, anything that happens to you, they either done it or they know who done it.
That's
Point
right.
blank.
Clearly. Yes, sir. Let's begin to get some closing comments. You know I got to have you back on, brother. I promise not to hold you long because I know you're representing us strong there in Selma, Alabama, sitting with the likes of, again, the Honorable Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, author of the book, of course, the ISIS paper, The Keys to the Color Line, and, of course, the Living Legend, and many others that are there with you in Alabama. Very historical weekend. As we wrap up, talk about and speak on the importance, as we talk about here, protecting our legacy, respecting our legacy, and never, ever neglecting our legacies, brother, particularly to pass this information on to the generations that are present and the generations to come, because very few of them may not know about Jimmy Lee Jackson. They may know about Michael Jackson, Tito Jackson, Jermaine Jackson, but they may not know about Jimmy Lee Jackson, who really led to the Voting Rights Act. His death led to the Voting Rights Act, and it was the first time in history that a state trooper, after killing Jimmy Lee Jackson or shooting Jimmy Lee Jackson, didn't take him to the hospital. He took him to jail, but it was just in 2010 that state trooper was found guilty. So it's the first time in the history of the civil rights movement and the human rights movement that there were those who were brought to justice for their crimes against our people during the height of the civil rights movement. So that the media has played that down, the Amy Goodmans, the Mark Steiners, because perhaps more of our people will follow foot to go after those who are, again, criminals for their crimes against our people. But let's talk about, as we wrap up, the importance of protecting and respecting our legacies, brother.
No doubt. Let me make one point prior to that. Just also something came to mind I want to make sure we point out about even images that we see. And this ties into legacies also.
Yes.
Out of all the carnage, all the death that's in Chicago, that's happening in Chicago, what they refer to as Chirac.
Yes.
It is something. It is something that the only symbolism of hope that the chief CEO of this country, who people claim is from Chicago, President Barack Obama, can revive our community and to corral a certain designated pick of black children whose father is not there, and really is not there. Let me be very clear on this. And one way or another, due to the system, the government took my father from me, and they took all of our fathers from us, whether they shoot them down, string them out, string them up, or lock them up.
Yes.
One way or another, they're responsible for taking all of our fathers.
That's right.
But it's something that should be noted that for the funds and the only salvation, the only way of hope for these children is that the President of the United States is providing for these children is saying a white male, a group called BAM. And this white male is supposed to teach black boys how to become men. So people need to start to grasp the importance of the whole psychological impact.
Right.
And it also, if everything is critical, even including the timing. The Catholic Church says that the first 3 to 8 years, you pretty much impact where individuals want to go at. Right. You cannot imagine, we cannot imagine the impact, how many lives and minds we lost. And I continue to lose by being attacked, and then all of a sudden the same one that's attacking us are raised up as our so-called saviors. So I want to definitely point that out. And go just look at the dynamics of it. And we are starved to the point that we would say, okay, at least we're getting saved from someone. It's like someone told me, well, at least Nicki Garbage,
Right.
Who desecrated the legacy, attempted to play a role in desecrating the legacy of Malcolm X. But this is not no isolated incident. We got a campaign launched right now in Chicago. We got word, they're talking about changing the name of Malcolm X College in Chicago. They're talking about changing the name. These are concerted attacks.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And somebody told me, Chairman, at least people talking about Malcolm X because even if it comes from Nicki Garbage. I said, wait a minute. We should not be satisfied with no sewer water,
That's right.
no contaminated water.
That's right.
Because we deserve better than that.
Yeah.
And so we have to be very clear on that.
Yes,
You talk about the whole importance about the legacies. Again, as you said, and it's not by coincidence or by happenstance, because the generations know more about Michael Jackson as opposed to Jimmy Lee Jackson.
Yes, sir.
It's important that that each generation comes up not with a reactionary response. Understand, this is not nothing new, being oppressed. And it should not be nothing new about resistance. You know, so this system has a long history of attacking our people. There's been a long history of resistance. There have been different tactics employed, different ideologies. We must be very clear to put this in correct historical context, because a lot of times we have people come up with a subjective reactionary response, or it's bad in Chicago, or it's messed up down south. We must say we cannot afford the luxury to set trip. We must, with the geographical, gender, or generational, contradiction that we all have.
Yes,
but
sir.
again, one thing is in common, the same parasitical system that has the blood of Jimmy Lee Jackson on his hands, it's the same system that has those children in Chirac that's being murdered on a day-to-day basis in Chicago. It's the same system. And again, we cannot afford the luxury to wait till some subjects become quote-unquote safe to talk about. For them wait years later to say, to come down and say, okay, we're going to criminalize and acknowledge that this is something wrong. The state trooper, pull the trigger on Jimmy Lee Jackson. We cannot afford the luxury to drink stale milk.
Yes,
we cannot afford the luxury to drink stale milk. We got to get this stuff hot off the presses. We got to let's talk about this now. You know what I'm saying? The state does, they wait down the road, the stuff becomes cooled off.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Then they can hijack it and water it down. We have to address these cases and these issues right now. And there's a backlog.
Yes, sir.
There's a backlog.
Right.
I'm speaking in lawyer terms. There's a backlog of criminal cases.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? We don't have any time to address. We can walk the two gum at the same time.
That's right.
Acknowledge those contradictions in the past. That's what it's right now. And there's no term of limitations. There's no limit on the crimes, the murder and the atrocities this government has and continues to commit on our people. Our legacies are important. We must on a day-to-day basis. I met a brother, I was just in California recently, and the brother, I was talking to him, and the brother, in fact, it came out to me the brother may be related.
Yes, sir.
And we were talking, we were doing some barbershop talk.
Right.
And he said, man, I'm going to tell my son later on, about about who he is and where he come from. And I said, excuse me. He said, he's going to wait till later on to talk to his son about that. I said, man, you take that position about, about sex or religion? He said, no, I tell him all that now. But it's kind of bad about the race thing. I want to wait till later on to talk about it. I said, brother, we can't afford that luxury,
That's
man.
right.
From the womb to the tomb, we got to start having these type of discussions, man.
Yes, sir, clearly.
I said, if we don't, the state gonna do it.
That's right.
If you don't take your child who Malcolm X is,
Right.
they're gonna come through Nicki Garbage. They're gonna degrade the legacy of Malcolm X. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So we gotta tie these conversations in every discussion that we have.
Yes, sir. All right, Chairman, let me just say thank you, brother. Revolutionary love to you and
Thank
all the comrades. And, of course, we're going to have you on soon and very soon. Might be next week. John Potash is going to join me in studio, so may have you join us online, all right?
I look forward to it. Hey, man, we should love appreciation. Hey, man, we say free mall, should it come with free mall. Free mall. Respect, man. Hey. And we glad our brothers back on the streets, back in the community.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? With the state kidnapped, you know what I'm saying? I can use no other term. For 44 years, you know what I'm saying? Again, it's a victory, but we should refrain from now. So we will accept the concession, we never compromise our principles, and we should remain strong, steadfast in our principles. We said, what's our call? Freedom all. And again, we should let appreciate for those opportunities, update the people about what's going down.
Yes, sir.
Alabama to Chicago. Power to the people.
Power to the people. Let's continue to get high off the people, Chairman, all right? Revolutionary love to you. Revolutionary love. All right. And again, family, just tuning in. That was our conversation with Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., who is live in Alabama as we're speaking. So we're going to go to this quick musical break. Then we're going to come back in the second hour, open up the lines, take your thoughts, questions, comments. But not only that, your pledge drive. So again, man, this is the show and the flow where you got to put your money where your heart is. In terms of those of you that have stepped up, I want to thank the many and plenty, as I will call out some names shortly, that have done that. But I need others to step up so that we can come longer and stronger on these airways. So the phone number to get in on the conversation is 410-761-1592, 410-761-1592, and then we'll come back, share this clip as we go to musical break about Jimmy Lee Jackson. Then we're going to come back in, share a message from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the Savior's Day address, which just took place, of course, 2 weeks ago in Detroit. And as we're doing that, of course, we want them phones blowing up in terms of, and some of you showing up in terms of putting your money where your heart is in terms of, again, your pledge drive to the state of the city. For the next 30 days, we need you to support the show, $25 level, $50 level, $100 level. And so we got some gifts that we'll give you as a lift. Got my sister, of course, who's helping this afternoon, Sister Lisa Samuels, just sitting in with me. So again, phones should be lining up, as I said before, to make many of you who have benefited from listening to the State of the City for the past 5 to 6 years on these airwaves, that are listening on Facebook, listening on Twitter, listening on our Spreaker page, and some of you downloading the shows, making blackbuster copies of the show, sharing it with your family and your friends. Well, all we ask you to do is support the show and let people out there know that you support the State of the City. Don't be shy. Don't be afraid. Let them know that, of course, you support one of the baddest, boldest, bodacious, tenacious shows, loquacious. You know we're going to be loquacious shows on the airwaves, whether we're talking about in this town or pound for pound, as the living legend Bobby Dick Gregory said, the best around. So let me go to this clip talking about Jimmy Lee Jackson, and then we're going to come back in on the other side on the State of the City. So again, listen to this message, and we'll be back with more.
Everybody thinks we're at home. Oh, but who are they to judge us?
In Bringtown, where 50% of the eligible voters were black, but only 1% were registered to vote.
And they had state troopers in every other office they could get. Deputized people with guns to prevent us from marching around the courthouse and helping them speak.
On February 3rd, the Marion police arrested 700 black children for marching and jailed a leader for contributing to the delinquency of minors. Inside the Mount Zion Methodist Church, on the evening of February 18th, an organization and prayer meeting was held. Outside, local state police had gathered, reinforced by hundreds they had armed and deputized.
All you could see was a sea of glee. A situation where they had planned to teach us a lesson.
It had come from the direction of Mac's Cafe, where those fleeing the beating had taken refuge. Jimmy Lee Jackson, a black, had tried to prevent his mother and grandfather from being beaten and had been thrown to the ground by a state trooper.
and picked Jimmy up off the floor and assured him in a corner, and I just shot him in the side. Just took a pistol and stuck it in his side and shot him. And as he ran up that hill, they continued to beat him, and he ran just beyond the church and fell between the church and the post office.
Jimmy Lee Jackson was 26, well-liked, quiet, and the youngest deacon of his church. They would bury him the following Saturday, walking 4 miles in the rain from Marion to the Black Burial Ground just east of town.
Like I say, just a shiny. The man already did. This is all down. They took slow, and then after came back and they cemented all this bricks and still turned it towards the road. You know, they shot a hole here. I think we know about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's what I shot them. That's a bounce off. All 6 holes in there, but after just came back and you see, I was out here late. I was late in the fall. Because I borrowed a group of people came in, I had to tell them the story. And I brought them here. The man that shot him, what's his name? The district attorney, Michael Jackson. Gave me 6 minutes.
Welcome back. That was a clip of Jimmy Lee Jackson's mother. First, you heard a clip talking about Jimmy Lee Jackson. You're listening to the State of the City. Closed out in the first hour, coming back in for the second hour. Of course, phone number, get in on the conversation. Phone number, put your pledge out to support the State of the City. I already had one call in, Brother Joe. While I'm thinking about those who have stepped up to support the show, let me thank, of course, Sister Patricia. Got to thank, of course, Sister Lisa, who's sitting in the studio with me. Got to thank, of course, Brother Kevin. Got to thank, of course, my main man, Brother Scooter. Got to thank the many of you and plenty of you in terms of those who have stepped up to support the show and the flow. And got to thank, as we have this break, got to thank my sponsors right quick. Want to thank Terra Cafe right there, 25th and St. Paul. Make sure you stop in. Support Terra Cafe. They'll soon be opening, I'm sure, this week. You can give them a call, 410-777-5277. Got to thank Charm City Chicken and Waffle Restaurant right there at 807 Washington Boulevard. Brother Wayne and all the fine family. Make sure you give them a call. Got to thank PM Diversified Tax Services. Give them a call for your tax services at 410-367-5615. Mr. Percy Mack, one of our octogenarians who continuously supports the State of the City. He's been one of my sponsors since I started on these airwaves and other airwaves as well. He can be reached at 410-367-5615. And got a brand new sponsor who's coming on. So let me make sure I take this opportunity to thank him as we're speaking. Got to thank Chandler Photography Plus. Exquisite and all-inclusive wedding services from start to finish. On your special day, this is the man, and this is, of course, the photographer that you want to call. He can be reached at 410-668-2512. His email address, of course, is at ulicesee at Comcast.net. Again, the email address is ulicesee at Comcast.net. Phone number, once again, is 410-668-2512. Chandler Photographer and Plus, as I said before. So that's one of our new sponsors that's coming on to support the state of the city. But again, as I said before, my lines are open for those that want to step up and show their love for the state of the city. You don't have to give the money today. If it's a check, you can make it to WFBR. If it's a money order, you make it to WFBR, as many have stepped up to do. And again, you can put it right in the mailbox today and send it to 159 8th Avenue, Glen Burnie, Maryland, 21061. Again, 159 8th Avenue, Glen Burnie, Maryland, 21060. I'm sorry, I said 61. 21060, I believe. 21061, and then we're done. I'm sorry, 61. I apologize. But again, that's all you have to do to support the state of the city this afternoon. And if you want me to come and pick it up, be more than happy to come and pick it up as well. But again, we're just asking those of you that listen to the show, it's listener supported. We have to pay to do this show. This is a customized show. So we don't work for WFBR. We don't work for Wave Broadcasting. As I said before, don't work for the Democrats. Don't work for the Republicans. Don't work for the United States government. Don't work for the state government. Don't work for the city government. So this program is brought to you by you, or for us, by us, FUBU. So here's your opportunity for those of you that listen to the show. And I know some of you sometimes want to call in. You want to take and tweet what we say on some airwaves. But again, here's your opportunity to support Strong Radio. And in the meantime, in between time, the phone number to get in on the conversation, 410-761-1592. And while we're waiting for your call, let me give you this message, as I wanted to share part of this from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's Savior's Day address, entitled, How Strong Is Your Foundation? So I ask you just to listen with an open heart, open ears, and open mind. We'll give you maybe about 15 minutes of this today, but we'll come back over the next few weeks and give you more of this message. You're not going to hear this anyplace else. Let me make that clear. Perhaps on Morgan State University late night Sunday nights. But again, you're going to hear it this afternoon live on the State of the City from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So let me go to this clip as we're bringing it up. And I just ask you to listen with an open heart, open ears, and open mind as the minister is in probably the meat of this information that he's going to be sharing over the next couple of weeks. And of course tonight, his weekly message series, The Time and What Must Be Done. You don't want to miss that tonight, broadcasting I believe at 6 p.m. So again, we will have copies of the DVD from Savior's Day, and we'll give that to you as a gift for those of you that pledge $50 or more today. We'll have copies of not just the CD, but the DVD as well from the Savior's Day address that you don't want to miss, that you definitely want to share with your family, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan laid out the pantheon of, again, our leaders and their vision and their works, and how we have to come together now, put aside whatever differences we have in terms of those in the Muslim community, Christian community, and those that are not of a particular religion, but those who are spiritual and understand the time that we're in right now and the importance of coming together for the benefit of our people, the benefit of our children, and to lay out a plan and a program and follow what has been given to us from our leaders in this dispensation of time. So let me go to this clip now from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Then we'll come back and give you more of the state of the city. So listen now with an open heart, open ears, and an open mind to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
I didn't expect nothing like this from you. Baba Kwame Ture, one of our great revolutionary thinkers. I was not at his bedside in Guinea when he passed. My wife was there a few days before he passed with Brother Akbar. But Kwame Ture passed with words on his lips to keep the struggle going. Listen, listen. Organize, 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 and work for a united black front of all black leaders and organizations. That's Kwame Ture. Now, here's a verse from the Quran that I would like to use for all these great ones. In the Quran, chapter 3, the family of Amran, verses 194 and 195, it reads, Our Lord, grant us what you have promised us by your messengers, and disgrace us not on the day of resurrection. Surely thou never failest in thy promise. So their Lord accepted their prayer, saying, I will not suffer the work of any worker among you to be lost, whether male or female, the one of you being from the other. So those who fled and were driven forth from their homes and persecuted in my way, who fought and were slain, I shall truly remove their evil and make them into gardens wherein rivers flow, a reward from Allah, and with Allah is the best reward. Now look at them. They are workers. You say, yeah, but this says in the way of our Lord. That's right. Allah, God, wants to see the black man and woman resurrected to life. To my Muslim family, we the blacks are in a state of jahiliyyah, just like the Arabs were before the advent of the Prophet. Don't make our work harder than what it is by preying on our ignorance, selling us liquor and drugs, and abusing our women. You are better than that. So be yourself a Muslim and want for your brother what you want for yourself. What is work? Did they work? What is the formula for work? It's force times distance. Did they move black people forward? Did John Conyers move black people forward? Stand up then and recognize that a man worked for us. All of these brothers, all of these sisters, they're workers. Allah said he will not waste or suffer the work of any worker among you to be lost, whether male or female. So now, next week, it's the will of Allah, I'll come out again in Chicago. I'm going to close on this. Master Farad Muhammad came here. He taught us well. Are any members of the family of John and Bernstein Muhammad present in the Muhammad family? I don't know why you're all the way up there. But I just want to say this to you and to all of you that are here. They paid a price that Islam could grow in this city of Detroit. They paid a price for the University of Islam to be established on their pain, their suffering, and the suffering of their mother, their father, and the early Muslims. I close with these words. Don't leave. God is the sure foundation. The great Mahdi that came is a sure foundation. To my Christian family, you are right to look for Jesus, but he's not white. And if you can't stomach a black Jesus, then throw away your belief in him. Now I'm going to say something I want you to think about it. See, the enemy who translate Bible put many things that would take place in the future as though it happened in the past. You love Jesus. Go pick up your Bible. Did Jesus have a problem with the Jews of his day? He's not a hater. Neither am I. I don't hate Jewish people. I never have. What I hate, and I will always fight against, is evil and injustice done in the noble name of the prophets and servants of God. If you're going to do evil, do it. Don't put Jesus in it. Don't put Moses in it. Don't put Abraham in it. If you want same-sex marriage, go ahead and marry, but don't say Jesus approves it. Oh, I got to talk to you today. some of you Christians have sold out the Bible for a place with Satan. The Quran says Satan makes evil fair seeming. You know damn well God has never sanctioned that kind of behavior. Now listen, don't put God on it. You want to be homosexual, you believe you were born that way, stay that way. God has something to help you out. No, I'm serious. He didn't come to kill you, he gonna save you from yourself. But you don't have a future with men loving men. Where's the future of the human population? See, Satan is in control of Hollywood. Satan is in control of television. Satan is in control of media. Satan is in control of money. Satan is in control. You turn on your TV, little cartoons, telling your babies that it's all right. Should you accept that? Well, what the hell are you going to do about it? See, you passive? You a passive Christian? You can't stand up for Jesus? Won't you sing that song? Stand up for Jesus, you soldiers of the cross. Stand up. What do you mean stand up? Stand up for what that man taught. Stand up for the life that he lived. Stand up for the death that he died, for the truth that he gave us. Or else keep his righteous name out of your dirty mouth.
Listening to the State of the City, those are the words from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Savior's Day address. We're still in the midst of our pledge drive, so my phone should be ringing so that we can get back into that message. 410-761-1592 if you want to get in on the conversation to make your pledge drive, and then we'll come back in, talk about Russia and the Ukraine. And if time permits, we'll open up the lines and get your thoughts, questions, comments. We'll give you a few more minutes of this message from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, which is a message of love, delivered on the Savior's Day, of course, this past February and 23rd in Detroit. And again, just ask you to listen with an open heart, open spirit, open mind. But again, we got open lines on them pledges. We've had a few that have called in and made their pledges, from Brother Joe to Sister Brenda, Sister Sabrina, who made a pledge of $100, and she's challenging others to make that pledge and donation of $100. So this is your opportunity to do so. For those of you city workers, state workers, and all others that listens to the State of the City, here's your opportunity to do so. So again, with that, I'll go back to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. But again, as I've warned many of you and plenty of you from Facebook, and those who said you support me, but you haven't stepped up to support me, that means you're trying to abort me. I'd have to abort you in terms of, again, disconnecting you from Facebook, and soon we'll disconnect some of you from Spreaker, since you listen to the show but don't want to put up the dough to keep the show coming longer and stronger. So let me go back to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Phone lines are open, 410-761-1592.
Listen to me good now. I'm not crazy. I'm not vain. I'm not full of myself. But any of you that know me, you know that I'm full of a spirit much more powerful than myself. So who's empowering me? That's the question you got to answer. I said to the Pope, I am the vicegerent of Christ. And I'm going to prove it. I told you all about a wheel up there. 1,500 little bombing planes. I ain't got time to go into it today. But I said, Jesus is the master of that will. What you say? Did you read in the book of Revelations about the New Jerusalem that would come down from heaven? Well, hell, don't look to the old Jerusalem. That's one of the most screwed up places on the planet now. You're going to have gay parades in the Holy Land? How the hell you think God is looking at Jerusalem? He don't give a damn about that Jerusalem. You better listen, because I ain't got a lot of time with you. The enemy is coming for me. I can't wait to see you. This is one you're not going to have. You're not going to kill Farrakhan. I don't give a damn how much you plot. I'll bury all my enemies. Now, wait a minute. I'm a spent shell right now. I just got a few more sentences. Listen. Master Farad Muhammad is a sure foundation because he's anointed of the originator to set down every tyrant and to set justice in the earth. Now the whole Muslim world, you are going to have to deal with me on who that man is. Farad Muhammad. How strong is the foundation? On this rock I build my kingdom, and the gates of hell will not prevail. You haven't changed me since I stood back up. I told you Elijah was alive. I ain't back down. I told you that he's alive and on that wheel, and I'm not backing down. I said to the Pope, the Vatican is interested in those wheels. I said, Jesus is the master of those. That's what the Bible means when it said, you see him coming in the clouds of heaven. No damn man come in clouds except he's in a plane. Wake up, you spooky-minded Christians and Muslims. There is no mystery God. I was moved off that foundation once, and the nation fell. I came back to that foundation and stood on it, and the nation came up. I stood on that foundation. Never before has a black man called for 1 million men. And with the help of men like Reverend Willie Wilson and others, nearly 2 million men showed up. It never happened before. Never happened before. And damn it, don't give me the credit. Know that I'm from God. How could I stand with the government against me, with the Jews against me, with some of you ignorant preachers against me, with some of you hypocrites against me? But I'm here. I'm here. That's right. That's right. So I'm saying to all of you, your foundation is your faith in these 2 men. So if the whole world comes, they got a song in the Christian church, I'm just going to stand. I'm going to stand. I'm going to put on the whole armor of God, that we may be able to stand against the wiles of Satan. So all this so-called love you profess, act on it. Our people are suffering, our people are dying. Get up and get out and go after our people.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Again, you've been listening to excerpts from the Savior's Day address from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in Detroit this past February the 23rd. The message, how strong is your foundation? So again, we're still in the midst of our pledge drive on this second Saturday. We normally do it on the first Saturday. So again, phone lines have been ringing, and so I want to thank some of those who have made pledges. Again, my main man out there, Brother Sean, real deal brother from Cherry Hill. Got to thank, of course, Brother Joseph. Got to thank again Sister Sabrina, Brother Mike, Sister Lisa, Sister Myra, Brother William, and Brother Calvin. But we're still waiting for others. 410-761-1592 to make your pledges. And, of course, as I said, those that give a pledge of $50 or more, we will have some gifts for you. Got some of these beautiful bands, the red, black, and green bands made by my little Princess Amina with her rainbow looms and the Afro looms, as we're calling them. Also, we have, of course, Savior's Day address, messages on DVD from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and much more. So again, put your money where your heart is in supporting strong, relevant black radio in this dispensation of time when we look at, of course, globally, there is an attack on independent imperative media from black, brown, red, yellow, and white. And so therefore, it's incumbent upon those of you that understand the importance of supporting this kind of radio here locally to do just that, so that we can continue, of course, to give you this truth with the proof up in the booth. And so as we do that, let me give you these last few minutes of Minister Farrakhan. Then I want to come in and talk more about, again, the international crisis. Didn't get a chance to talk about the local news, but I'm back on Monday at 12 noon with Brother Jared Ball. Promised to bring it on home and talk about the local news as well. So let me go to this clip of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and then we'll come back in and talk about the crisis, the manipulated crisis in the Ukraine, and by the neocons, which are gone and gone wild. So listen to this, and we'll be back in a minute to go deep into the conversation with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Well, suppose they come and send you greetings. Oh, I wish I was young enough. I'll show you what to do. You gonna send me some damn greeting to come and fight for you and your lust for oil and the resources of other nations? Now some of you just gonna fall away from me, but I don't give a damn. I really don't care. If you punk out on me, well, hell, you won't be the first. All them hypocrites that walk with Jesus. The minute the soldiers came, Peter said, well, weren't you with him? Hell no, I don't know that man. See, you all have this I love you business. I hope you do. I know damn well I love you, and I'm proving it. But you're going to have to prove yours for me. You're going to have to stand up or lay out completely. So you tell the government that I said, come on. I want Allah to show you his power. I already told you watch the weather. I told you after my 58th broadcast, once I finished, the calamities are going to increase and increase in intensity. All you got to do is listen and watch. If I'm a liar, then come back and tell me you're a liar. But you're not going to come back and tell me nothing. Because all that you read in that Quran, that Allah brought on the wicked in the days of Lot, in the days of Noah, in the days of Hud and Salih and Thamud and Pharaoh, that never happened in Arabia with the prophet. It's happening today in America and all over the world. This is the end of the house of evil. You should be rejoicing. Good news. Thank you for listening. And may Allah bless you all and get you home safe. Let's go to work. Assalamu alaikum.
Welcome back again. That was the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. That was the conclusion, but I'll come back, I promise you, next week and give you the intro and a lot more info from that message, the Savior's Day 2014 in Detroit. But as I said before, you won't hear that message played on black radio, white radio. That's the shameful part. A man who's in his 80s demonstrating so much love for our people and for humanity, and you have those that know what he's talking about, know what he is demonstrating, know he is laying down his life and laying down a plan for our people and for humanity. And so it's incumbent upon us to make sure we support the 3-year economic savings plan. And we'll come back over the next few weeks and have Brother Richard Muhammad, the editor of The Final Call, to share more information on that. As the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has said, he will give us a update on the 3-year economic savings plan. And we'll be back to talk more about that. And God willing, this year, we may be honored to have an interview live on the line from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So let me quickly, as we transition and still have our lines open, we have Sister Lisa joining us in studio, taking your pledge drives offline, of course. But if you have a comment and want to get on the air, we'll open up the lines to you at 410-761-1592. But of course, make your pledge. You're not getting on the air if you have made no pledge, and make your word bond. Let me make that clear. This is a conversation. And this is where we have, of course, a conversation and a dialogue, not a Jay Leno, not a Arsenio Hall monologue. So I promise you that we will be talking more over the next couple of weeks about what's happening in Annapolis. Going to be scheduled to be joined by our delegate, the Honorable Delegate Joe P. Carter, to give us an update. As we know, in Annapolis today is crossover bill. Today is bond bill, I believe. Bond bill and crossover bill in terms of getting the money. But you haven't heard many of those talk about the importance of coming to get your money in terms of for your organizations or for your business or for your, again, institutions, in terms of supporting the institutions as well. So we're going to hopefully be joined by, again, as I said, the Honorable Delegate Jill P. Carter, and she can give us an update on what's happening in Annapolis, her very important bills that she's passed, and others, since they're talking about minimum wages, but we got to go beyond minimum to, again, livable wages. So again, the lines are open, 410-761-1592, and as we talked about, Russia, which is only, of course, going to have major blowback on the United States of America. will be perhaps, as you saw, the New York Times. So those of you that read newspapers, but also can read between the lines and read, of course, international newspapers and use social media so that you can give the information out to the public. And I want to thank my sister Carmen Arria out there, of course, Ranieri, who's one of the few that I've been corresponding with on Twitter, as well as a host of others, giving our people and giving the sheeple the real information regarding what's happening globally, regarding, again, the New World Order or the New World Order and their plans and their policies toward humanity. So we're going to hopefully be joined by that sister and others that would join us to give their perspective on what's happening, of course, globally right now. But most of this are oil wars, currency wars, and, of course, control for land when we look at what's happening in Ukraine and what's happening in Russia. I'll give you a few headlines because oftentimes these wars, as I shared with you before, or these currency wars, or these oil wars, or these distractions in terms of crisis are due to, of course, the currencies and due to crimes against humanity by the international bankers. And there was a headline that was at thedailysheeple.com following the wave of banker suicides this past week. 3 former Barclay bankers were charged in the LIBOR scandal. So oftentimes when you hear about these bankers supposedly committing suicide or dying strangely, as the female who was killed in Singapore the other day, the founder of Bitcom, what's her name? Her name was Autumn Ratke, who was found dead in Singapore. But you had 3 bankers this week that were tied to the LIBOR scandal, and this LIBOR scandal will take many banks down. There are a few banks that are intimately tied to this LIBOR scandal, from J.P. Morgan Chase to Citigroup to UBS to Deutsche Bank to the Royal Bank of Scotland and others that, again, have been tied to rigging of the financial markets. And now their day has come when many of these bankers now, as you saw, 3 in one of the law firms in New York this week. But again, as I said before, while they got you caught up in the distraction, the American people, with the Oscars and other so-called TV shows, then clearly the real news is not being reported by the mainstream corporate-controlled news media because they're pushing views and calling it news. And I don't know if you saw this headline in the Washington Post, New York Times, how the CIA spied on the Senate and the Congress. And they got you worried about a hearing with Senator Issa or Congressman Issa and Congressman Elijah Cummings having a boil over, but they haven't talked about the CIA spying on the Senate and spying on Congress. But of course, they're spying on the American people, as we found out through NSA, and thanks to the likes of Edward Snowden, thanks to the like of WikiLeaks, thanks to the likes of Julian Assange, and thanks to the likes of others who are real sincere whistleblowers. Now we're finding out they've been spying on the Senate and spying on the Congress as well. So again, if you want to get in on the conversation, and I'll come back, as I promised you, to go deeper and look at what is happening in the Ukraine, as Russia has now said if any sanctions are imposed on them, they will dump the United States or the U.S. dollar, as well as China has said that. America now has ships that are there in the Black Sea next to Ukraine, and of course going through Turkey to get ships, as well as American troops, as well as American pilots that are in those airwaves there. So clearly this is heating up, as we shared with you before. But as I shared with you, that the countries of Romania, countries of Poland, the countries of Ukraine, some have entered into contracts with 2 big multinational oil companies of Chevron and Exxon that the mainstream news media is not warning and telling the American people about. That this has nothing to do with democracy. This has nothing to do with humanitarianism. This has everything to do with the old-fashioned needs of greed from, again, these multinational corporations that are willing, or these economic hitmen that's willing to use your sons and use your daughters to get what it is that they want, and to use the President of the United States, Barack Hussein Obama, as well as Secretary of State Kerry, as well as former Secretary of State Hillary killed Bill Clinton, as well as insane John McCain, which I'll come back and go deeper into John McCain, who was a traitor, who, of course, gave up all the secrets in Vietnam, and they killed many pilots off the secrets that he gave up when he was captured in Vietnam. And he was found guilty and was by trial and court-martialed to be sentenced by a firing squad, but he was pardoned by Richard Nixon. But this is the man that President Barack Obama is taking instructions and orders from, an insane John McCain, as well as the neocons from Robert Kagan and his wife Victoria Nuland and others, that your president is basically put in the crossfires in some way. In some ways he's not. In some ways he's been a willing, killing participant to go along with what is happening again in Central Asia and Eurasia. And there was one other headline I wanted to share with you talking about this big forum, Economic Commission, which took place in Russia this week. And it is entitled the Eurasian Economic Commission. You may want to look at that because they talk about this Economic Commission and how 40 countries are interested in free trade or free trade zone with Belarus, with Kazakhstan, and with Russia. And it is the EU association versus the Eurasian Customs Union, which you definitely want to look at. And, of course, again, from Gerald Celente, one of our economists that you often hear at Infowars.com, talking about 85 years later, after the stock market crash of 1929, we have banker suicides, which may be not a prelude, but a prequel. You know, in a movie you have a sequel. This may be a prequel to the coming economic collapse, which may take place this month and soon, and very soon, inside of America, but globally as well, as the living legend Baba Dick Gregory and I have been talking about, with this global currency reset that is due to take place globally right now. And keep your eye on China with what China just did with Zimbabwe. We'll come back and share that information with you, but there's been many and plenty, or a few, that have been talking about the Zimbabwe currency and the importance of investing in, again, the elder there, the longest serving president of any country in the world right now, Robert Mugabe, who is 90 years old, and Zimbabwe's currency, which has now got an infusion of money from China. And again, we have to be willing to see the bigger picture of what's going on. But if you got a question, thought, comment before we wrap up, because I'll go back and come back, as I said before, and go deeper into this conversation about the Ukraine, deeper into the conversation about Russia, and again, as I said before, all of the forces, those seen, those unseen, those plans that are overt as well as covert, and Dissident Voice from my sister out there, Sister Carmen, is another website. DissidentVoices.com is another website where you could go to learn more about what is going on globally and what is happening in that part of, again, Central Asia or the Eurasian Peninsula, coming right out of a good book by Sam Hunting. And of course, Zbigniew Brzezinski, one of President Barack Obama's handlers, with his grand chessboard schemes and plans, which again is only going to backfire on America. And for those of you to say, well, what difference will it make for me? You see your gas prices are already just about $4. They're going to imagine $8. Imagine $10. You see your milk prices, what you're paying for milk prices now. You see your bread prices, and what are you paying for bread prices now? Well, imagine all of that doubled, if not tripled, with what is happening over there. For those that just can kind of make it plain for you. That's what I'm talking about. So again, you tune to the State of the City. And if you want to get in on the conversation or continue to make your pledge drives, we're still here, still clear, still sincere, and delivering the information without any fear. Let me quickly thank Sister Lisa and thank those. We got Brother Kenneth Davis who called in. Got to thank, who else we got here? Brother Emmett, and who else we got? Sister Gloria, and may have missed someone, but if not, of course, if you want to get in on making your pledge, Sister Grace who called in, Brother or Sister Terry and April who called in. Got to thank them. And I mentioned Brother Calvin. So here's your opportunity, 410-761-1592 before we conclude at 2 p.m. But, of course, we'll be back here on Monday at 12 noon, as I said before. Going to be joined by Brother Jared Ball and that brother, former host of Funky Soul Brother Hour on the airways of WPFW, as well as, of course, Jazz and Justice, and continue the anniversary series of We Ourselves, which begin with one of our professors, Ambrose I. Lane Jr., on the airwaves of Pacifica Radio, as well as Brother Ackland Lynch, Brother Tom Porter, and a host of others. So, again, if they don't want them there, we'll definitely welcome them with open arms here on the State of the City in terms of, again, adding them into our program and our program lineup, which will only allow us to come longer and stronger. So, again, you're listening to the State of the City. If you have a question, comment, you want to get on the air as you're making your pledges, please make your pledges, as I said before, because this show is not paid by any Open Society Institute grant, not brought to you by the Drug Policy Foundation, the Drug Alliance Foundation. It's not brought to you by your governor, the Teflon leprechaun, Martin O'Malley. Not brought to you by your mayor down there who still don't care, Stephanie Rawlins Blake. It's not brought to you by Doug Gansler, any of those who want to be your governor in 2014, whether we're talking about Heather Mazur, whether we're talking about Anthony Brown, it's brought to you by us, for us, in terms of those that give up their time, their talent, and their treasures to allow this show and this kind of flow, free thinking and free flow of information by putting up their money. So again, and getting small businesses to support this show. So again, if you want to make your pledge, you can do so. 410-761-1592. Got a able-bodied sister, of course, that's in studio and making and taking your calls. So again, if you want to get in on the conversation, 410-761-1592. And before we wrap up, I want to make sure I thank my brother, Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., who joined me in the first hour of the show. I thank all of those that are gathering in Selma, Alabama, and those who may be gathering in your churches, gathering in your mosques, gathering in your religious institutions around this city, around this state, around this country, to elevate, celebrate, and commemorate and educate the generations that are here and the generations to come on the life of Jimmy Lee Jackson, who, again, his life served to elevate the cause of our fight for justice and truth and equality, and led to the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Now we must fight to protect those rights, which the Supreme Court turned back the clock last year. And where's the president on that? Where's the attorney general on that? And at a time when we should have had our brother to be elevated to be the, again, civil rights attorney, we saw where the right, as the right, not that they're right, but the political right, in terms of the Republicans and even the Democrats that voted against our brother. And I'll talk about that with Brother Jared Ball and more on Monday at 12 noon. So we're going to begin to wrap up today's show, make way for the program coming up behind us this afternoon. But again, we'll still be here for a few minutes in studio. So if you want to call offline to make your pledges, you can do so kindly at 410-761-1592. You can, of course, follow us on our Facebook page at Darren, D-A-R-E-N, State of the City. Last name is Muhammad, M-U-H-A-M-M-A-D. You can follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is #1 State of the City. You can follow us on Spreaker as well at the State of the City. We'll podcast the show on our Spreaker page as well, and it'll be there so you can go back and listen to the show in its entirety. Share this information with your family, with your friends, with your comrades, with your associates. And again, to support the show, make your checks, money orders payable to WFBR. WFBR, send it to 159 8th Avenue, Glen Burnie, Maryland. And again, we'll be back here on Tuesday at 12 noon. So as we conclude, sister, any comments, anything you want to share as we're wrapping up?
Thank you, everyone.
All right. She just said thank you, everyone who, again, called in. And those that didn't get a chance to call in, your family and your friends, make sure you encourage them to call in and support the State of the City. So again, until Monday at 12 noon, God bless, and let's continue to clean up this mess in this city and this state and this country and on the planet. So I thank all of you that tuned in, uptown, downtown, around town, near or far, wherever you are. So again, we'll be back here on Monday at 12 noon. So until then, we're back together again. Peace.
Don't know everything, but there's something I do know. I know. I've read and heard a lot, and now I'm ready to show that we can come together and think like one. Come together now, live together underneath the sun. Show you the way to go. Follow me, my friend. Oh, let me show you. Come on, let me show you the way to go. Just put your trust in